Our video was recorded at a lower setting this time because of issues with the camera. The problem has been fixed, and you can expect that the next video will be back at full quality. Sorry about this one, but please enjoy. Hello duelists, welcome to MST.TV. I'm Tombox.
And I'm Nishi.
And a few days ago, the Hero Structure deck came out, and we're going to talk about Mask Change, but more specifically, Mask Change 2.
So the Hero Strike Structure deck gave us 3 notable cards. The first one is Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. This card, when it's special summoned, it adds a change quick play spell card from your deck to your hand, and when it's sent to the graveyard, it searches for an elemental hero. The second card that the deck gave us is Mask Change 2. This is a quick play spell card, and when it's activated, you discard 1 card, then target 1 face-up monster on your side of the field that has a level and an attribute, and then you send it to the graveyard and special summon a masked hero from your extra deck whose level is higher than that monster but has the same attribute. But you can only activate 1 Mask Change 2 per turn. The final card is Masked Hero Darklaw. This is a fusion warrior type monster with 2400 attack, and it can only be special summoned with Mask Change or Mask Change 2. And while it's face up on the field, any of your opponent's cards that would be sent to the graveyard are banished instead. Also, when your opponent adds a card from their deck to the hand, you can randomly banish 1 card from your opponent's hand.
So it's like a macrocosmos on their side, and they kind of have like they're stuck with drastic drop off. It kind of feels like that. So what have we learned about this card from OCG? Now they've had this card for a while. One of the impacts they had was Shaddolls versus Sackys. But Sackys wasn't really making a scene in OCG because I believe their Rhoda was never at 3 like ours. Another one is they played a copy, well not a copy, but they played copies of Shadow Mist, Mask Change 2, and Darklaw in Infernities, but that doesn't impact us because, well, our Infernities is pretty crippled.
The other thing is, Shaddolls in the OCG would use copies of Mask Change 2 and Masked Hero Darklaw to help them out in the mirror match, because whichever player was able to summon Masked Hero Darklaw first prevented the opponent from activating their Shaddoll effects in the graveyard.
Mask Change 2 wasn't considered in the main board by many players. They chose to side deck it for the mirror match. The cost of Mask Change 2 was a bit too hefty for Shaddoll players. The card that was discarded didn't get the effect, but the one that was sent to the graveyard does get the effect. And Shaddoll players do not like losing card advantage over creating plays. So TCG and OCG competitive impact is actually slightly different. So in TCG we have Burning Abyss, and the release of Hero Structure and Clifford's End, also Necklots, will have a slightly different impact because of the release date. But here's something interesting to point out. In Secrets of Eternity, Shaddolls felt very power creeped because they got nothing that was really powerful. In fact, like look at Wendigo. Wendigo sucked. And Neth Shaddoll Fusion, like really minor impact to what the deck can do. But this will give it back, give them a little kick. Also, compared to Satellar Knights, they got Constellar, I hate the name, Satellar Knight Constellar Diamond. And that like pretty much shut down Shaddolls if it comes out. So the equivalent would be them now getting a Darklaw, so it gives a little more diversity in their plays. But anyways, on to BA.
So Burning Abyss are definitely going to be one of the top decks to abuse Mask Change 2 and Masked Hero Darklaw. This is because Mask Change 2 will actually trigger 2 Burning Abyss monster effects. The one that's discarded from the hand as cost, and the one that's sent from the field to the graveyard. There's a slight problem because with Masked Hero Darklaw on board, your little Burning Abyss monsters, the level 3, they'll all be destroyed because you now control a monster other than a Burning Abyss on the field. However, it's important to note that with Masked Hero Darklaw's effect, it's only your opponent's cards that are going to be banished, so yours can still go to the graveyard. So you can still activate the effects of Skarm and Farfa without consequence.
Now, for Shaddolls, it's going to be very similar to Burning Abyss. However, the card that was discarded does not get its effect. So that one will be sent as a cost. However, this actually gives Shaddolls a little more diversity as well, because they did recently lose Super Poly, the Mass Change 2 does act as almost like a second El Shaddolls fusion. And for Denko dolls, it's just more OTK potential. And also, Dark Law and Winda makes like a quasi-lock to make your opponent struggle to play. Like they can't special summon more than once and everything they play gets banished. It makes a really difficult recovery if you can actually get out of this lock.
One important thing to note is that Mask Change 2 and Masked Hero Dark Law, they're probably not going to be very viable options for the main board here, just because Cliport and Necros are very dominant decks. Well, Cliports already are and Necros are going to be, but for the mirror match against Shaddolls or against Burning Abyss, this is a very viable side deck option.
Do note that when Necklaws come out for us, Dark Law has very little impact to the deck. Sure, like they can't send stuff to the graveyard. However, none of the Necklaws cards require them to activate by sending to the graveyard. They only need to be discarded and has no target location to end up at. And also, if they get out a Bryanek and just bounce your Dark Law right back to the extra deck, Clasalis can make it 0, run it over. Unicorn negates his effect so they can continue to stuff things into the graveyard. So it's I think it's a pretty bad card against them, but it does stun them from recovering their ritual spells. One of the other decks that can benefit off of this card is Mermails. But personally, after trying the deck, unless you have a really solid deck list for this, please leave it in the comments section below because I've been struggling with this deck. I find it very inconsistent when you play it. However, when you do get the combos off with Mass Change 2, you have options to Dark Law if you use the Undine engine, and you also have options to Acid and Vapor. Well, Vapor is not very significant because all he just does is cannot be destroyed by card effects. But Acid, on the other hand, being able to wipe out the entire back row, and especially when you can do it during your opponent's end phase, now that's got some more significant impact. But the deck is overall a bit lackluster. Like, that being said, Dark Claw is a card that can be used against you as well. And if Dark Law is on the board, Mermails will struggle to play unless they have Abyss Spheres or any, like, you just need Abyss Sphere, Raigeki, I don't know, Dark Hole, something to actually get rid of the Dark Law. If you have a handful of discard outlets, you can't play because they're all getting banished and nothing will activate. Like, that's one of my rounds in a tournament recently, and I struggled really hard. They just like, oh, I have a bad hand. I opened Dark Law with nothing to protect it. Well, guess what? I opened 2 infantries that I can't discard, a Megalo that can't be summoned, a Gen X controller that I can't do anything with, and an MST. Like, I literally just died. Okay, we're now going to cover some clutch plays that can be done with Mass Change 2. For our first example, we're going to have Burning Abyss fighting against the Cliforts. Cliforts will be going first, and notable cards that you would want the Cliforts to have would be a Clifort Scout, Skill Drain, and any monster. The other 2 cards, preferably, they're not useful. If it's useful, then this combo most likely will fail, but we're going to show you the best case example. So if they have Emptiness, MST, or Trap Stun, this will fail because Skill Drain needs to be active for this combo to work. Now for the Burning Abyss side, you'll need a Tour Guide, a Farfa. Farfa is mandatory, Mass Change 2, and as a bonus, you would want another BA monster, preferably not Seer, and a Rank Up Magic. Alright, let's get the combo started. So this is my hand here. Okay, so it's the Cliforts player's turn. Now, she will be starting with a Scout Search, pay 800 life points. Now she's at 72. Adds a Sacrifice to hand. Next, she summons out one of her monsters. In this case, it was a Helix. Helix has been summoned, and then Sacrifice was equipped to it. Next, she sets 1 card onto the field and passes turn. Now it's my turn as the BA player. I'll draw. So I drew another BA monster. So I'll open turn with a Tour Guide. I'm expecting a Skill Drain to activate at this point. So I activate my effect. She changed Skill Drain. Skill Drain cost 1,000 life points. Now she's at 62. I chain Mass Change 2, discarding a Farfa. Farfa's effect will come in later, but in this chain, nothing else is happening, so it resolves. Mass Change 2 sends Tour Guide to the graveyard. Special summon out a Dark Law. Then Skill Drain resolves, and Tour Guide resolves now, and Tour Guide will special summon out a Graph. Now let's not forget about Farfa. Farfa has now activated. Even though Farfa is level 3, Skill Drain is now active, so the Clifford's ability to not be affected by anything lower than themselves is also negated, so Farfa will banish that Helix. Sacrifice will go to the graveyard, not get banished, because Skill Drain is still on board, so Dark Law is also negated. So the search will go unhindered. She searches a Clifford Stealth. Now I will continue my play with my current hand. Next, I will attempt to special summon one of my Burning Abyss monsters. You need a Burning Abyss monster that's not Seer, so I'm just gonna go with Calcab in this one. So I reveal, there's no response, special summon. Don't forget that these will actually not be destroyed because Skill Drain's on the field, so I can actually have different names on the board now. I immediately overlay both of them into making a Dante in attack mode. Next, I'll use Dante's effect. Now, Skill Drain's on the board, but I can still mill, of course. Now, this is common knowledge here. I'll detach a Graph to mill 3 cards. I don't gain the attack, however, but my goal is to actually send a Seer to the graveyard. So, all these effects will activate, but Seer did get sent and Graph. So the main part is Seer and Graph. So Seer would revive the Graph, and Graph will special summon a Skarm. At this point, you overlay these two and make an Acid Golem. The damage on board right now is 3,000 plus 2,400 plus 1,000. That is 6,400 damage because of the first Scout Search and the Skill Drain activation. They're only at 62, resulting in an OTK. However, do note that if they did not Scout Search, this is the part where you would need an additional BA monster in your hand to chip off the last bit of damage, or you need Rank Up Magic to turn the Dante into Pallades. So you can get also additional damage on that, which would result in a total of 7,900 damage. For this second play, I'm going to use Mermails, but this can also apply to, of course, Heroes, because Heroes does have a lot of water monsters and Dark, so they actually have better options. But I'm just going to show a Sacky play that involves Mermails. It's a little more stealthy when you do it with Mermails, because you don't actually need any monster on board to begin with because of Sphere, and you can do it during your opening turn, which is honestly very Sacky. So this involves Mermails having Mass Change 2 and, of course, Sphere. Now this hand actually isn't too good because there's no real discard outlet except for Tidal, but Tidal is actually a key component in this combo. So for what I would do as the turn player, I would set 2 cards, a Sphere and a Mass Change, and then I would pass turn. My opponent can have whatever trap that they want, as long as they don't put a monster on board or like a monster with a lot of attack points on board or defense, it's okay. So say it was my opponent's turn and they set 3 big floodgates. Maybe their hand wasn't so good. It would probably be like an Emptiness, a Skill Drain, a Soul Drain, stuff that really hinders me. And whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. So at the end of their main phase, I will activate Abyss Sphere, special summoning Lind. Make sure it's at the end of the main phase, because Abyss Sphere will not destroy itself if you activate during the end phase. It destroys itself during the next end phase. Now, when we proceed into end phase, of course, Abyss Sphere dies, then it gets destroyed because of it. And from here, we special summon out a Abyss Spike. Abyss Spike will activate. I'll discard a Tidal. to special summon to search a gun. At the resolution of the spike, so getting the gun, activate Mass Change 2. Discarding the gun, targeting your Abyss Spike. When this resolves, because this is all done during the end phase, those cards cannot activate whatsoever. This card resolves, and Acid comes out. Acid being a mandatory effect, mandatory trigger, will activate. Gun is also an optional trigger that does not miss its timing, so it can special summon one monster from your graveyard. So Gun will target Lyn, because Spike won't activate again, since Spike is once per turn. This will special summon out. Acid will activate, destroying all the back row, like, upon the summon. And then it's your turn. Now you draw. This is almost perfect because now you have Megalo effect. Discard 2. Special summon. Effect of Megalo will give you a free search of Abyss Sphere. Now this is obviously not enough damage because this is opening turn. They're at 8k, but to maximize damage because you have Tidal. Discard 2. Banish 2, sorry. And special summon Tidal. This is over 8,000 damage. This is instant swing for game. Even if you do not game them, say a Clifford player, you can cripple them so that they can't search using their scout anymore. If they had any of their normal summoned Clifford monsters that aren't tributed, any of your monsters should be able to destroy them, and you should be able to put them below 1,000 life points, which makes them very, like, a cowboy burn will actually game them instantly, and they did fall behind 3 cards, which is kind of interesting. Just something to know about this combo. If they actually had a monster, you can crash your Lyn and giving yourself an Abyss lead as well, which still pushes for even more damage. It's really crippling to a Clifford player that didn't open very well. So the turn 1 does matter to them. They can't use their floodgates on you. They also lose their scout if they actually scout searched. And you won't even care that they have sacrificed a new scout to their hand. Now for my final example is also another Mermail example. This one does not apply to heroes, however. What we do is, it's an OTK if there's an open board. Say during the main phase, end of main phase for your opponent, you activate Sphere, you get a Lyn, and Lyn dies, you get a Sleed. It's very important that Sleed's the only one that can do enough damage for this combo. Now on your turn, you draw and you get a card, a Book of Moon. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. It's just straight up going to battle phase, and you attack directly. And that's 27 damage. Then you would, in the same battle phase, use Mass Change 2, discarding a gun, and sending the Abyss Lead. Special summoning out the Acid. Acid will pop everything, it doesn't matter. This is under the best case scenario that they have nothing. Of course, this is not going to happen very often, but anyways, continuing on. Acid will special summon himself out, Gunday would activate, and then special summon out Lead again. Lead has not attacked yet on this, well, after he got special summoned, so that's another 27 and 26. 27 plus 27 plus 26 is equal to 8,000 exact. Just, you know, if someone sacks you with this play, it happens. But that's all for what we got for examples and little clutch plays that people can do with Mass Change 2. We have reached the end of this episode. Well, I hope you guys liked our live duel from our last video. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It's been getting a lot of popularity. Yeah, that one's really good. I would like to do more, but it does take me a long time to edit, and I don't really want to show you crappy games. So when a good game comes up, I'll see if I can do one every other week. But aside from that, I can't make any promises there. If there's anything we missed about these cards, please leave it in the comment section below. Maybe you'll teach us something and we'll mention it. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up.
And if you guys want to see more, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. And until then, make sure that you guys hold on to your MST.TV.
Sorry, it's really corny. I'm bad at this.
So cheesy.